I'm planning on posting a video about the United States Postal Service, and Amazon might be trying to take it over.
Well, I lied, guys. This was largely misinformation based on a rumor of a possibility.
Misinformation!
However, I went down the rabbit hole of USPS history, and it pissed me off enough to still make a video, although it is going to be a short one. This is based on Trump is looking to privatize the United States Postal Service, and this could mean bad things for Amazon. Let's break that down, right? So, the difference between a public and a private service. A public service doesn't need to make profit. It needs to break even. If even that, it could be subsidized by taxpayer money. And our postal service hasn't broke even in a long time. It actually used to be well subsidized until the war in Vietnam. It was deemed too expensive, along with some other riots going on. Lyndon B. Johnson converted it to a business basis, for-profit organization, still under the Congress's order. And it became a slave to this agency they created called the Postal Regulatory Commission. And after another law from 2006, the Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act, which changed how the USPS could change their rates and made it so they had to pay in advance for employee benefits like retirement, which, under threat of veto by the Bush administration, also went into reducing the federal deficit. Between 2006 and 2016, about 87% of their debt can be attributed to paying the escrow account required by this act. That was a huge wall of text for me to write in my script, so let me dumb it down. Imagine you're a clerk at a grocery store. You've got your own debts, but so does your boss, your manager. In order to save his own ass, he just stops paying you. He says you get to pocket a certain percentage of everything you ring up, and that you can get all the benefits of being a privately owned business. All to help you break even on your own debts, and while he breaks even on his. However, you have to ask his permission to raise prices, because it's still his store. But then that goes on, and you start to break even. Things change a little bit, and after a while he says, you're not allowed to raise prices anymore. And also now you have to throw some of your money towards his debt. This isn't the most accurate way of phrasing this. Namely, I forgot a huge issue where they were paying the pensions of the civil service retirement system, a system reserved for government employees, even though the USPS was technically independent. And the cost of this was part of the reason they had to scramble to put something together to try and mitigate their spending and increase their earnings between 2001 and 2006. Which, by the way, the last of the employees who qualify for the CSRS will have earned their pension this upcoming year in 2025. We're just around the corner of the phase-out. Does that mean this is the last year they'll be in red? God, no. There's so many other issues. But there's no fair chance if they end it here. I'd also like to amend my timeline here to say that the Postal Service has tried to use changes in pricing and get back in the green, but were denied the permission. A couple times. Not every time. Even basically being told that operating a loss was salutary for them. Salutary is defined as suffering in a way that is healthy because you'll be better for it. So they were in debt and pushed them deeper into debt because they wanted them to learn their lesson. Also, the PAEA makes it so the Postal Service can't increase prices more than inflation, which prices did change in one way or another basically every year since 2006, but not nearly as much as their competitors in FedEx and UPS. Basically, they were forced to keep competitive pricing below their competitors. This created the situation where they were basically drowning, but could occasionally come up to breathe exclusively through a McDonald's straw. All this is because when they rioted back in the 70s for the right to organize, and since they were government employees back then, they had no right to organize against their employer, or protest for that matter. So in order to fix this, they forced them to go independent.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
Drunk Adam comments.
When, in my opinion, the obvious solution would be to, let the USPS become a a not-for-profit corporation anymore, have it be subsidized by the government to keep prices cheap, and let government employees advocate for their rights. Because God forbid our soldiers, our office workers, our mailmen not have the ability to fight for their rights to be treated as a human fucking being. Frankly, turning them into a for-profit corporation just seemed more like a tactic to shut them up than make a fundamental change to the way our government works in a way that would, be beneficial. And now the USPS, which has more or less been forced to be cheaper than its competitors, might get pushed even further. The way things are looking, they're going to further privatize the USPS so that they can make their own decisions without politics, which would be awesome, but it's almost 20 years too late. This will drive the prices up and remove any incentive to deliver to all corners of the country, and does not guarantee that they could dig out of their debt in a reasonable amount of time. Amazon has been relying on USPS for delivery to places where other carriers can't or won't go for significantly cheaper prices than competitors. Amazon has been building what is kind of its own postal network, basically using the USPS framework that is estimated to have stolen $100 billion in competitors' revenue by using a combination of their own freight and other postal services to carry non-Amazon packages. Relying on USPS to take packages into rural areas where delivery isn't profitable is a big part of their partnership. Should the USPS completely privatize, they have no legal obligation to deliver to every customer. And then Amazon might make the decision to not deliver to rural areas altogether. There's even rumors going around that Amazon might purchase and subsidize the USPS should it go private in order to keep their business model, which might be worst case scenario for postal delivery as a service, given Amazon's history of union busting and frankly being one of the biggest profiteers of the modern market. The USPS needs to republicize in a way where they are still entitled to union benefits and representation, but God forbid that a government employee's rights be protected. We'd rather send a pillar of our logistics network on a downward spiral than take care of our citizens. I'll say it again, and I'll say it 1,000 times. The United States needs a labor party, a party made of the working class with working class interests. At the very least, if the issue is political meddling, then they could at least create a better system for making smart business decisions and furthermore having them approved under the power of government. This is pure speculation, but not having a postal service that works under the government, that is to say a 100% privatized postal network, can only mean bad things. The same way every other necessary service that has entered the private sector permanently, gas, power, medicine, housing, and banking, have become exploitative industries rather than letting the average American have the freedom that was promised. Thank you.